Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of The Fishing Teacher. And man, I really appreciate you guys checking today's video out and spending some time with me. And guys, today I'm going to give you a full tutorial, a full seminar on fishing the Megabass Magdraft Swimbait, because we are in Magdraft season right now. March, April, and May are the three best months to fish this lure, arguably the #1 swim bait in the United States. We talk about it quite a bit on all three of my channels because it's such a freaking awesome bait. And there's about probably a half a dozen little tricks that I want to share with you guys today that definitely will help you catch more fish on this thing. If you've never caught a fish on a Magdraft, it's one of the funnest strikes you'll ever get. It's a super fun bait to fish. So we're going to get you guys all set up with that today. Also guys, a couple quick things I want to remind you of. Anyone interested in booking an on the water lesson with me, you can do that by going to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler, and just shoot me a message for the details there. And also guys, please check out my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns. We got the spring maps up right now. Great resources to learn more about your favorite lake. These are maps I build myself for fishthemoment.com, and I'll put the link in the description there if you guys want to check those out. Really appreciate that. Okay guys, here it is, the Megabass Magdraft, most famous swim bait there is. It comes in several different sizes. This is the 6-inch model, which is probably the most popular. They just came out with a 5-inch model. They got an 8-inch and a 10-inch model. And guys, I'll link this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video if you guys want to pick some up after this video here. But I'm gonna just get you some good juice on it. Okay, so first of all, when you throw a Magdraft, like I said, it's got to be the right situation. And I've been fishing this bait ever since it came out quite a few years ago. And for me, it's pretty much a March, April, and May bait. I catch a few fish on it, maybe in the fall time of the year, but the workhorse, the real heavy lifting that it does is in the springtime of the year. It's not quite as effective for me in other times, but you want to fish it right now. Anytime that water temperature is between like 55 or maybe even 50, say 50 and 70 degrees in the springtime, this is going to be a really good bait. Along as also if you got the right type of water clarity. It works in a diversity of different water clarities, but my favorite water clarity to fish it in is sort of that 2.5 to 6 foot visibility. That seems to work pretty good with it. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about equipment you want to throw with it, line, and how to make the cast, and conditions that it works in, and then we'll talk about the areas that it works in. Most of the time guys, with the 6-inch here, now as you go bigger, if you go bigger you have to have heavy equipment, but for this video I really want to focus on the 6-inch size because this is the one you're probably going to do the best on this time of year. I throw it on a medium heavy 7-foot bait cast rod. I use that Megabass Perfect Pitch at 7'2". I found that like a 7'2" rod is really good setup for it. The bait weighs probably, I don't know, close to an ounce, but it casts pretty good with a medium heavy rod. I use 15-pound test Seagart and Vizex line. I've experimented with a bunch of different test lines. 15-pound test seems to be the best. And also guys, I've also experimented with a lot of hooks on it, and the stock hook that comes with this bait is the best one for it. Now, if you're not familiar with a Megabass guys, it's got an internal magnet in it that keeps this hook in position, and it's also got a slot that you can bury one point in that makes it real, blends into the bait where it doesn't give itself away. Next with that is once you have the right setup and equipment as far as how you want to work this bait. That's another big key. The key on the Magdraft is to fish it slow enough. You want to fish it as slow as you can where the tail's still wagging here. Now, when you fish it slow like this head is going to wobble slightly like that along with the tail. It just looks just like a bait fish coming through the water. Now, if you reel it too fast, it's going to either come up too high or it's going to roll off to the side. So most of the time, I just throw it out there. I point the bait right at the lure. That's another good thing. It's like you want to have contact with this bait on a straight line. So I'll make my cast, point my rod tip straight at the Magdraft, and I'm just reeling just about like that. And occasionally, I'll give it a half turn like that. That's what I like to do. I don't just like to reel it just steady without stopping it. Half turn like that. Sometimes I'll stop and let it sink down. It's got a real slow fall. And the thing about the Magdraft, it works good over shallow water and deep water both. But one of my favorite places to fish it in the pre-spawn is a little bit deeper water. So you have to throw it out there and let it sink down. It sinks about like this. It's a slow sinking bait. So I usually like to throw it out there, and I like to let it sink close to the bottom if I'm wanting to fish a little deeper water with it, and then just slow roll it, because you don't want, the faster you reel it, guys, the more it's going to come up. So make sure you go nice and slow with it. That's a big key. Another thing is when you do get a bite on it, the bite, I love the bite on a Magdraft. If you've never had a bite on this bait, it's like, it's the most unique bite that you'll ever get. So you'll cast it out there and you'll be reeling it straight. And that rod tip is pointed straight at the bait. All of a sudden, it's just like somebody grabbed your line and just jerked on it like that. It's like, you'll see your line just go boom, just like that. And then they load up on it. It's like it must just be the way they approach or attack the bait, but it's like super fun bait. And sometimes, guys, you will get some short strikers on this. If you do get some short strikers, I suggest changing colors. It comes in a lot of different colors, and have 3 or 4 colors you can rotate through with that. So that's pretty much the presentation with it. Now, let's talk about where you want to look and where you want to fish this thing. Now, a lot of it is relative to the water clarity and the water temperature within the spring. In the pre-spawn, when that water temperature is under 60 degrees, I like to fish the Magdraft on a little bit steeper banks, a little bit deeper water. So I'll get, say, on a channel bank or a bluff bank or just some type of a steep bank, and I'll make long parallel casts down the bank, and I try to target the water depth that I want to target versus the water clarity. If that water clarity is like less than 3 foot, I'm trying to target that zone probably less than 5 or 6 feet. As it gets cleaner, I'm probably targeting 10 to 15 feet down that bank parallel with it. Now, once that water temperature gets about 60 degrees, you want to move into the flatter areas. Move into those areas like the coves, the flats, shallower areas that have flatter banks on there where those fish are starting to move into spawn. And in this situation, once those fish move shallower in those flatter areas, when you cast it out there, you don't want to let it sink. Just cast it out there and start reeling immediately. And I like to keep it in sight in the clear water if I can, if the water depth is less than 5 foot deep. It just seems like once that water temperature is around 60, if I keep that Magdraft a little bit higher in the water column, like almost like a swim jig, they come up and bite it a little bit better. And that's the same in the post-spawn too. It's like in the pre-spawn, I fish it out of sight, and in the spawn and the post-spawn, I fish it in sight. So I'll fish those flat areas a lot when that water temperature is in the 60s, like when a lot of fish are spawning. But once that water temperature gets about 70 and a lot of the fish are done spawning, one of my favorite ways to fish a Magdraft is if you got flooded cover. If your lake comes up high in May, which a lot of lakes do, throw this sucker around the edge of flooded cover, guys. They will come out and hammer the thing. And also that time of year is I like to get on windy banks and windy points and fish it again just under the surface. In this situation, I'll throw it out there, keep my rod tip a little bit higher because I'm wanting the bait to stay a little bit higher, still reel it slow. And like in May, guys, if you get a windy, cloudy day and you've got some clear water, just throw this thing on any windy bank. They come up and hammer the thing unbelievable with it. They attack it, man. It's like, this is a big bait. There's something about the aggressiveness with the way they hit this thing that is super, super fun. But anyway, the 6-inch is probably my favorite. They just came out with the 5-inch here a couple weeks ago. I'll link all those in the description of this video if you guys want to pick up a couple. And super fun bait to fish, man. If you haven't caught one on a Magdraft, those tips that I just gave you will really help you a lot. And hope it works for you guys, and we'll talk later.